All right, folks, good afternoon. Let's go ahead and get airborne with our Viper trading and Tomcat charts coaching. I'm really excited to do this, man. I'm incredibly excited for where we are right now, whether it's no fallen heroes or Bart and Goose coming on board to help out, man. This is just 2022 is going to be an incredible year. Now, bear market, check. Recession coming, check. It's going to be a horrific year, and it started off as a horrific year for the market. But it started off horrific if you don't know what you're doing, right? And it started off horrific if you don't trade options. So really excited about this because I had to stop coaching a couple years ago just because I got so swamped. Launching the Lifetime group was awesome because we can chat back and forth, but a lot of folks still reaching out like, hey, man, can I get an hour a week or half an hour a week or anything like that with you or Goose or Bart? I'm like, all right, we got to do this. Let's get the coaching back airborne because now we have all of this stuff. Okay, so Paul, you can always shoot me an email, Wiz, W-H-I-Z, at TOPGUNoptions.com if you want to chat with me. All right, let's go ahead and get airborne. Let's start with this because it's interesting that a lot of people, when you talk about coaching, and some people kind of get their nose out of joint, right? I don't need a coach. I know what I'm doing. Really? Some of the best athletes, singers, executives, some of the highest performing people on the face of the planet credit one of the reasons they're the highest performing people on the planet to their coaches. Tiger Woods has a drive coach, he's got a swing coach, he's got a putting coach, right? He relies on them for advice. He credits this to that. Actually, he said the best coach in his life was who? His father. You see those videos of Tiger out on the fairway, swinging a club when he's like 6 years old. What about executives, man? I was an executive coach. I was helping Fortune 500 coaches. I was an executive coach for a trading firm essentially for 3.5 years. And the people that own that firm are now on the Forbes billionaire list. Ain't saying I did that, but I absolutely will tell you that the structure that I brought to that firm, single points of accountability, a brief, a debrief, you name it, helped. Red teaming. Everything that I brought to said firm helped empower those people to become billionaires. Fact. Because when I showed up, man, it was 2 people and a flat nothing. They didn't even, well, I'll leave it at that. So executive coaching. How about this? How about the most elite fighter pilots on the face of the planet who, here's type A and then here's a fighter pilot on the other side of the world past type A? Of course we do. We had what we call on-wings. Your on-wing was your coach, your mentor. The on-wings that I had from flight school until the day I left the Navy, some of them saved my life. Almost all of them, to a person, made me a better officer, aviator, and human being. Hell, right now, I have Cynthia, who's essentially been my life coach. After doing the medicine and doing my integration, I still talk to her and she helps me, man. This is what you need, I guarantee you, to take your trading to the next level. If you feel stuck, stagnated, I mean, especially if you're not in the Hunters or the Lifetime, right? Because you can get on there at midnight and be like, hey, man, this. So if you're not ready for the Hunters or the Lifetime, but you need some one-on-one to learn how to trade volatility, to even learn what the hell volatility is, to take a look at what Bart's doing, this is why we have this coaching, and I'm really, really excited to do this. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to my brother Goose now, and he and Bart are going to brief you on this, and then I'll wrap up at the end. So, Goose, let me turn it over to you, and let's go ahead and get airborne, my brother.
Okay, let me get my screen up and again. Does everyone see my screen?
You are good to go.
All right. I am so fired up about this. Let me get something straight up, though. I have a coach. Anybody want to guess who that might be? Wiz is my coach. I've had a few others over the years, but Wiz is my coach. And he has helped me take my trading to the next level, obviously, as well, and learning to teach again after many years of not doing this. But let's go into this. I'm excited to be here and excited to have an opportunity to share with you all about this. So let's go ahead and roll here. And Bart is right there with me. So let's go vertical here. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the ROE that's going to happen in how it all goes on the financial side, our objectives, a little bit about us, a little bit about how it works, some goal setting, some execution, and then the coaching levels. And then there obviously is some limitations which we will discuss. So our rules of engagement for this. Let me fix something here. Our rules of engagement is that we're not financial advisors, and there'll be a handout obviously in there that kind of talks a little bit more about this, but we don't provide personal financial advice. That should come from your personal financial advisor. And that's the most important thing, is we'll give you our opinions and some ideas to think about and how we would handle something, but you need to be working with an advisor if you so feel the need to do that. And as far as personal financial advice for your situation, it's important that you understand that. So we'll help you to the best of our ability to gain the knowledge, achieve your goals, and learn how to trade this crazy market that's going on as we speak. It's been a lot of fun watching this. Our objectives today is to provide industry-leading, professional, and compliant one-on-one coaching to current and future TGO members. So, and I mean current and future. So some of you may not be full members, or maybe you're at one of the services, and maybe you want to add a little bit more SA to your portfolio as you do that, and we'll talk about that, especially if you're working with us one-on-one. There's a lot of tools here that are available. We'll help our clients achieve their own objectives, and we'll help you set those objectives and walk through that with you and work to your trade plan and work on those things that you are struggling with or having trouble with. Most times people try to do too much trading. I think in the lifetime folks will realize and look that I haven't traded a lot this week, and that's because I set my sales and trimmed my sales last week, and I haven't been trading a lot this week, and I haven't needed to. So there's times when that's good. And I think one of the things I do want to also point out is that for those in AR and had access to this morning, Wiz briefed a lot of this morning on how to do the very things that we're going to be talking about. So everybody grab a pen. Your homework assignment number 1 is to review the video that Wiz did today on accelerated retirement. So when you get off of this brief, I suggest that you go review that video. It's about an hour, and it is fantastic. Fantastic. Wiz knocked it out of the park this morning about trade management. And I promise you, every one of you that's done a trade right now needs to hear what he has to say this morning. So go back and review that. And that's your personal coaching advice for the day right now, right up front. So we'll work on those things. We'll help you find your go forward plan, and then join with fellow Top Gun options pilots for this, because you can't really do this alone. It's pretty tough to trade alone. I traded alone for many years, and I blew up 2 accounts doing it. And you just tend to not have anybody to sound something off of, and red team. And what do you think about this? Well, I wouldn't get in that because of XYZ. Well, that XYZ might be an insider dump that you didn't even hear about, didn't see coming, something like that. All right, a little bit about me. Who am I? I'm good friends with Wiz. We've been friends for a while. We chased each other around the military circuit. I actually took an interview with some of the companies that he worked and Ponch worked with, and looked at going down the same path of the professional speaking just before I went back into the airlines. I took a break from the airlines. So I'm an airline pilot. I'm a former fighter pilot, flew F-16s and F-4s and a lot of other different airplanes. Ended up in the test world, did some of that, and continued to keep my airline pilot. So I went back in the military during the down years of the airline and started another business. And then, of course, you see what I have today, being able to join Top Gun Options. And, Wiz finally told me, a year and a half, 2 years ago, come on in, brother, let's get some work done. So that's what I did, and I started that process, and you're getting to see us as we learn more and more about how to work with other traders and the groups and the power and the understanding that comes with that. And what you'll get out of me is you'll get my ups and downs. I'm brutally honest about something that if I screw it up, and that's the only way to go here, because I think most of you have heard a couple of my briefs, and I'll tell you right where I messed it up and how we can fix it. And learning to get out of a trade that went bad on you is something that's very, very difficult for people to do. They want to dogfight it. Sometimes the best dogfight is to exit the fight. And I still have to learn that. And I will work with you on the same thing. I have a very good understanding of the matrix and how this market works in general terms. Market efficiency, sentiment, and tech analysis. So when I say efficiency and sentiment, fundamentals are mixed in there. And yes, I do understand fundamentals. But when you're trading a volatile market, you have to look at a lot of other things as well. And this is probably one of the most volatile markets that I can remember since 1999, 2000, where we had to send our trades in paper. So try imagining back to those days where you look at the market and you go, yeah, I think it's going to do this. And then you put it on paper and you send it in, and hopefully your trade gets executed in the next couple of days, if you're lucky. And then you usually have to ride them to finish because it was really hard to get out of them. So when online trading started coming around, it was an amazing change to that. And now we have just an incredibly efficient system, but it's fast. Primarily for me, my focus has always been on income trading. And again, volatility within that income trading, cash secured puts, spreads, stocks, futures, and options. So I do understand a lot of that. Now, I don't dabble into the Forex world. Bart, he understands the Forex world. However, I do understand it well enough to know how it affects the equity market. And that's where I spend a lot of my time tracking currencies to learn that. So that way we can have a deeper dive into parity, probabilities and Greeks, and stock picking. If a lot of that sounds like Greek to you, don't worry about it. That comes later. So that's me, a little bit about me. Bart, fire away, brother.
Thanks, Goose. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for attending. I'm really excited to be with Goose, and yeah, we're flying some mixed section with the Viper and the Tomcat. Actually, I don't know if I told you this, Goose. I actually did that once in my life. So I'm a chartered market technician. If you're not familiar with a CMT, it's a designation that's essentially a CFA, but you use charts. It's modeled after the CFA, which is a chartered financial analyst. Excuse me, sorry about that. And there's levels 1, level 2, level 3, and it's all charts. I actually was a teacher they had the CFA Institute, and we built the CMT Institute. It's called CMTI. So I was actually instructor for the 3rd level of that. And in that, I taught Elliott wave theory, intermarket analysis, a lot of sentiment, and some different oscillator tactics. For me personally, online, I kind of think Goose and I are talking about getting ready. I used to go to meeting, but that was back 10 years ago or so, whiz. Anyway, but I taught hundreds of CMT candidates globally, specifically the CMTI level 3 stuff. But I've taught a bunch of people over the years. But I love doing it. It's a lot of fun. Additionally, I was a grader for these tests. And then I had a stint, I was the director of the training for the Market Technicians Association for a couple of years. If you look up All-Star Charts with JC, the Financial News Network with Larry Pesavento, other media outlets, I get the chance to talk about them, what I'm seeing all the time. I had my own trading firm also, like Wiz at one time. I was a CTA, specifically with the Series 7 and 34. My expertise was spot currency. So I was a spot currency trader. Why am I here at Top Gun Options? I'm actually learning options as we go also. So I'm bringing my charting, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, to help with entries and exits, quite frankly, and everything that has to do with technical analysis. and I'm learning the options as we go. So my expertise, if you do want to talk about currencies, I can talk about them all day long. What will you get from me? My expertise is pattern recognition. Not necessarily the recognition of a bull flag or pennant and that stuff, but stuff like Gartley's and butterflies and 1-3-5s, 3 drives, basically using harmonics and geometry to look for the best entry and exits that we can. We'll dabble a little bit in some GAN theory, but we'll also take some, probably some pauses in is this whole intermarket circle of life that actually Goose was talking about, where you look at fixed income, you look at the currency markets, you look at the commodity markets, and then you look at the equities from the CONUS, continental United States, and also globally, and try to understand that intermarket circle of life. So we'll be talking about that. I've stopped blogging on Bart's charts because I'm strictly with Goose and Wiz at TOPGUN Options. But at the time on stock twits and everything, I had about 40,000 followers. So I've been around the markets for 15 plus years, really enjoy teaching. And so excited to be partnered up with Goose and Wiz with TOPGUN Options. So that's it for me, you guys. Goose, back at you, brother.
Yes, sir. And thing is, Bart's my mentor too. He is teaching me so much about charting, and you'll start seeing some of my charts, which will be interpretations of what Bart's teaching me. So let's get into a little bit about how this is all going to work. We're going to help you develop your own action plan, and in the notes they're already available to you, and make sure you download it, is a blank trading plan to start. And that is your second piece of your homework, is for everybody on here, is to go home, take that, download it, and start working on your trading plan. Because if you trade here, we're going to ask you those questions, and you're going to ask yourself those questions, because you're going to hear Wiz talk about trade from a trading plan. He calls it his knee board card, or his knee card, and it's the same thing. What he's done is he's taken his trading plan and he's condensed it down to a knee card, and and he has a stack of those, and he just bangs through them as needed. And I've been there, looked in his office, and I've seen where he had his cards stacked out looking at it, and so that's how he manages it, and that works. I love the idea. I love the idea. Since I'm on the road a lot, I have my trade plans in a kind of a spreadsheet sort of format, but I still carry a little notepad with me as well. So you have to figure out what's going to work for your pilot and command duties yourself. Each person is different. Some folks like a very detailed plan with respect to an Excel chart or a Word file or something, and others like to have a whiteboard behind them, which works really well, and you put your trade ideas on your whiteboard. So whatever works for you, and we'll help you develop that shell. We'll share some ideas with you. The whole idea behind what we're trying to get to is consistency-based base hits to hit your goals. The way we'll do that is, you're going to trade. You're the pilot command of your portfolio. We're going to show you or share with some ideas. We'll meet weekly with you on Zoom, one-on-one, and in some cases, 2-on-1 if we're checking each other. Like Bart and I will sometimes be able to listen in with each other, because we're obviously learning from each other as well. We always are in a learning mode. But we'll work the plan. We'll answer those questions, and we'll try to develop the next steps and give you some things to think about that maybe you did or didn't think about in your portfolio. It's a little different for everyone depending on your knowledge and your skill and your ability. So if you're just starting out and you're trading level 2, then what you can do is completely different than if you're an advanced trader, or if you're someone that's come to us many years ago and has been trading here, like Tamara, and as she's gone from beginning trader to advanced trader to far advanced to Jedi trader. She's an amazing person. So we have folks that have done that and been with Wiz for a long time, and it's an awesome thing to watch and to see. And I think I've worked with some of you now a little bit in the lifetime side, that I see the light bulb come on after a couple of times of talking, and then you just come in and kick butt, and it's pretty awesome to watch, I got to tell you. So we'll meet monthly. In one of those, we'll debrief and we'll update our plan, and we'll go forward. And then you do have access as well in the same program. We can mix and match. So if you want to work on your options trading side, your basic plan and so forth, I can work with you on that. And then we want to get into the charting and entries a little bit. We can have Bart do sessions with you too. So we can mix and match depending on what you want, and we'll work that through with you the first time we do meet. Your play, like I said, your trade plan, and I've hit this over and over. And then of course, in all cases, Wiz is chief pilot, so he obviously oversees all training and may or help or guide as required, depending on what he sees, going on there. So, all right, pretty cool. There's your formation, Bart. So, looks like I'm flying off you. So I like that.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Good. You need to put the wing go that fast. So, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go into an example, and so get your snapshot ready at the top of the screen and get ready to take some snapshots here. And we're going to go into this. So here's an example. By 31 December, a 40% increase in portfolio value. This would be like a year one financial mission objective. So slide 1 or page 1. And I'm doing this on a slideshow because this is the way I would send it to you. But these are some ideas. So take a snapshot of something like this and go home and start thinking about this sort of stuff. Gain experience into the markets, metrics. You want to win 2/3 of your trade. If you're a consistent trader and you consistently cut your losses when you need to, and you consistently let your winners run to your primary targeted objectives on 2/3 of your trades, you will be successful. The problem is avoiding the big ones, and when you do have a big one, to pick up and not just step back too much, but just keep sticking to your guns. And that's a tough call sometimes for people to do when they're first learning. And that's why we talk about the trade plan. And the other piece of that too is when you're learning is to trade small. Everybody wants to trade $5 grand on a trade because they see someone else doing $5 grand on a trade, when you really need to be trading $500, or you need to be trading in paper. And I will challenge you in that regard. So what are the threats? Here's a great example. This was a lawyer friend of ours that was in coaching with us, and he's might be in the room. He's a great individual, but procrastination is obviously a threat, and you got to be honest with yourself. Task saturation. This stuff is not easy to learn, but it is learnable. Not sticking to the trade plan. Revenge trading. Oh, that's one of my biggest ones. Is I took an $18,000 loss on a Disney trade, and I want to jump right back in and get some of that back. And the best thing my mentor told me was take a step back and go a different direction and see if you can make it up a different way. And that was fantastic advice, because it took me 30 days to make that up in a different role. I actually went to the Moz because I caught the Moz at the low. So my pride hurt me. And so we're going to work with you on some of those ideas like that. And of course, FOMO is a big one for everybody too, because you chase the trades. And I'll tell you what, Bart is going to show you how I think Bart has the most patience of any trader I've worked with so far as saying, okay, I'm going to let the trade come to me and let the, and again, he said he's learning options too, but there's two basic decisions whenever you're looking at a trade. If I'm going to get in this trade, am I going to go long, or am I going to go short, or am I going to do something in between, technically 3? And then Bart's going to teach you more about that. And in fact, he teaches me about that, which is awesome. Okay, external stuffs, your law practice, your work, your career. Of course, that's a tough one. That's a challenge even for me. My career gets in the way of trading, but also, it's just a time function. If you have a drawdown in your portfolio, that's a tough one too. But these are things you've got to give some thought. Familiarity with your trading platform. So this is a great example. Available resources. What do I have? Okay, I have E-Trade or Thinkorswim or whatever I'm working. You need to learn the platform. Is there something I can do at work to kind of lighten my load a little bit? Can I work with the instructors? Making sure that I'm in the briefs or that I can see the briefings. These are available resources to you. Platform training videos, technology services. You need to be plugged in. If you're going to train here, you need to be plugged in here. I'm not here to spoon feed you. I'm here to help you learn what you need to learn to be successful. My greatest goal would be in some period of time, 6 months, whatever, that you called me up and said, I got this, I got the jet. And boy, I would just be excited about that. And, you know, and if you want to come on into some of the rooms where you have other folks trading with you at some point down the road, you know, hunters in lifetime, then you get to continuously plug into other folks that are doing that, which is awesome. Training videos for the platform. Think about that for a minute. When I first started trading with Trade many years ago, Options House, is they actually put out a little video that showed kind of how it works. And all these platforms have training videos, which you have to take a little time to learn how you're going to navigate these, you know, these things. News Technology Service, Wall Street Journal, #1, got to have that. And that's just something that you just have to chalk up to the services, because there's a lot of great information in there. And there's others. FinViz, I use free FinViz though. And there is a lot of services that you can use for free. All right, and lessons learned. Here we go. You know, keep a running list. Use your checklist, follow your trade plan. These are examples. After a big drawdown, don't stop trading. You might need to back off. If you have a big drawdown, chances are you traded too large. And I see that one theme coming up over and over and over again is people try to double down or trade too large. And one of the rules that I abide by is never trade big enough that you can't take 100% loss on the trade. If you do and it destroys you, then you're trading too large. And it's a simple rule. Tough to follow, but simple to understand. And we avoid the fire and forget mentality. We watch the trades, but that doesn't mean that we want to fire and forget, that I don't look at it from a perspective of, if I fired and forget it, would it be okay based on my commit criteria? And Wiz actually talked about that this morning on the XLF trade, exactly what his mentality was on that. So again, I challenge you guys to go, when we get done here, is to go pull that video from this afternoon, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Your commit criteria is everything. We're going to add lessons learned. Of course, this is, let's say for instance, our commit criteria is not changed. What's our rules of thumb? How do we get into this trade? How do we get out of this trade? Man, I'm giving you the juice right here. You know, if I'm in 50% overnighter in a same day trade, I usually will punch out of that trade, because what I did is I guessed right, I did my study correctly, I caught the direction correctly, and I nailed the trade, and I made 50% overnighter same day. Would I get out of a trade in the case? Most of the time I will, depending on how committed, or if I really want the outcome. Say I write a cash secured put and I don't mind getting the stock. But if you make 50% in a short period of time, you might want to start thinking about moving on or setting it up again. There's a little rule that someone else gave me. If the trade is valid when you close it, then the trade could be valid if you reopen it later and you took profit in the process. So that's a long, you know, long saying of nobody ever went broke taking a profit. If I've got time left in the trade, a great trade the other day, we were trading out in the middle of May, and we took 65, 70, 75% in a couple of days. You know, why expose yourself to the trade to try to get that? And I see a lot of folks trying to squeak the last little bit out of them. If you're down 50%, so Wiz talks about the 2X. Well, I have one intermediate rule with that. So if you take a trade and your 2X means if you took in a credit and you go double that credit, you need to reevaluate. Well, what I will do is I will look at it when I'm half down, and do I need, you know, is this a point where I just screwed up the commit criteria and completely missed it? And if the commit criteria isn't still valid, then I will eject at 50%. And this is something that I continue to challenge myself. But we can work with you on some of these ideas like that. And then of course, the ones 100% reject. So these are great examples. Cash secured puts a similar criteria, except whether to double down or not. And again, it was perfect. Wiz talked about this morning on the AR brief about how to handle a synthetic, and this is exactly what we're talking about here. So I'm going to save you a little bit by telling you again to go do your homework and listen to that video. And one of the final things as we start to work about lessons learned is understanding margin in a margin account. In an IRA and a Roth, you don't really have margin if it subtracts the amount of cash that it needs to cover the margin from your available balance. But in a margin account, 99% of the accounts that get blown up are margin accounts because people don't understand. and we'll teach you some more about that. All right. Obviously, you got action items that you want to be able to go into. Whoops, sorry about that. I made a switch error. Stand by, y'all. Okay. So action items, the target list for your strategic mindsets. You're bullish, you're bearish, you're volatile, you're neutral. You develop your plans based on that. So right now, you know, with this market, we've been in a bear market for a little while here, but it's a volatile. Well, bear markets are always volatile. When do you begin to make that shift from bear to volatile? When you start seeing support levels. Well, we saw that for a little bit, but you know, it could have been a head fake here. So where are we still? I'm still in this bear volatile mode right now. Are there some sections that are bullish? Yeah, there has been a few sections that are bullish, you know, oil, for instance. But will it last? When you're in a bear market, one of the things you need to understand is that whatever trend is in reverses quickly. And so you'll get these violent bear market rallies, and you'll get these very quick pivots down, and that's the volatility. So if we can ever get into a range where we're sort of trading in a range, then we switch to this volatile mode and we start working that SOP, and we hedge those trades. And you can even look at pairs trading, like you know, gold and oil, for instance, as a pairs trade. Airlines and gold, you know, it's airlines and oil, excuse me, they tend to run opposite each other. So you need to keep your list of action items. And I would put all this in a book. And then finally, your contingency plan. So this is if everything goes bad on you. Sit home, write down what if. What if the personnel changes? What if you have the environment completely changes? We go completely bullish. And you're trading long bearish and the market does a hard pivot upwards like it did last week. Do you switch to bullish, or do you trade, or do you step out to cash? You know, and if you keep pounding it down, you're going to keep getting burned worse. And that was one of the things about options trading, is that we can flex quickly. But I will tell you this, on a contingency plan, if you're not sure what to do, then probably the smartest thing is to step out of the market for a second and reevaluate. And what does that mean? That means cash. So what happens if you have a portfolio drawdown? And I'm going to just let you take a picture of that. You know, fewer contracts, less riskier trades. What if you have the volatility? This is all things that I just covered. All right, and then what we want to do on our final piece of our trading plan is we want to be able to throw a few things out that are just ideas, and we call these parking lot or miscellaneous issues. We could trade front month. What do I generally want to do? I want to establish a base, and we talked a little bit about that this morning with a synthetic or a long call or stock. And when I'm teaching folks and working with folks that are initially starting to trade options, most of them have traded stocks, and so they have an understanding of it. So we'll build on that. If you look in my portfolio, investing versus trading, in my investment side of my portfolio, you'll see stocks. I don't have necessarily a lot of long options on, but you'll see a synthetic on there once in a while too. And if you don't know what that is, we'll get into that some more later with you. But you definitely need to consider what's going on in the world and learning to manage the spreads and learning to know when to eject. Again, a pitch for that video this morning. Keep your running list. Here's a big one. Don't beat yourself up for an early roll or for a win. I could have gotten more. If you get into that mindset, you will fail. Let me repeat that. If you get into the mindset of beating yourself up mentally for taking an early profit, you will lose. You will lose. Because that last 15% is going to cost you 50% more often than you think. And so I need to emphasize that enough. Don't beat yourself up for a loss. Just cut the loss and move on. Use the straddles, use the tools. All right, so how do we do that? Here we go. This is something that you will have to be able to download. This is Wiz's 7-step trade plan. I don't want to go into the details because we've already gone into the details on this. If you go to the full throttle training, which you should be reviewing the old one, your strategic mindset, your target, your commit criteria, your tactic, make yourself up a little sheet. What are we going to do during tactical deployment? You know, what sort of determination do we need to know whether we're going to either reattack or whether we're going to trade it or what tool we're going to use? What do we do mid-course? What does that mid-course mean? That's trade management. So when you work with a coach, that's one of the things you do pick up is some great techniques about trade management. And of course, your exit plan you should decide on ahead of time, and then you keep track of your wins and losses. What I used to do on mine is I used to put big smiley face or frowny face and how much I won or lost on the trades, and I would put them in 2 piles. And I would look at the piles, and I didn't necessarily have to review the trades too often, but when the win pile got bigger than the loss pile, I knew I was starting to make progress, and I looked up and I was. But I was trading very small. Even an experienced trader, when I came in and started trading with Wiz a little bit more, I started with 1 contract, 2 contracts, because I wanted to get into the rhythm of it. And I'll tell you, you know, a 1 to 2 contract win makes you just as happy sometimes as a 10 contract win would. So work in your plan, work your mindset. And these are some ideas. So this is how we develop our trade plan. And what we're going to do is once we figure that out, we start a little bit of this things called inflection point. And I'm going to hand this over to Bart because he's going to go into this. So Bart, fire away, brother.
You got it. Thanks, Goose. Great job. So first off, you know, part of what Wiz does every quarter is he does a set of, you know, 6 to 7 hour-long training sessions where he goes over all the different tactics. I'm going to be starting that next month, doing the same thing. If you're not a lifetime or you're not part of Zone 5, I'm not sure if it's 6 or 7 courses. I'm still kind of working through that just from a content perspective. But one time cost of $197. I don't think you could beat that. It's crazy. But you know, we want to present the information because we're in a crazy market right now. And so I'm going to present this, and then we'll also be doing the coaching. But what do we mean by inflection point? What we're trying to talk about is the hardest thing to do is to figure out when to get in and when to get out, right? And so that's what my charting is all about. This is not going to be charting 101, 201, 301. This is going to be a mixture, if you will, of how to use charts to manage risk in the market. So if you're just starting out with charts, quite frankly, that's awesome because there won't be a lot of, you know, bad habits that we'll have to talk about or break. And if you're an expert and you've been charting for a long time, then there's probably some advanced tactics and techniques that I can show that can really help you out. So anything from the novice beginner all the way to someone who's been an expert and been working on the charts for 15 years or so, I think there's a place. And so what are we going to talk about? Well, first off, like Goose talked about at the beginning of the presentation, what do you want to get out of learning about the charts, right? Price and time, and then all of the 15,000 indicators and stuff that you can put on your chart to try to help manage risk. So we're obviously going to talk about that. And then from there, we'll teach and we'll work together of how you can come up with some of these inflection points from both a take profit and from both a enter, but more importantly, where to make a decision and where you're wrong. In fact, when I was talking to Wiz about coming on and helping him, he made the casual, and I think this might have closed him, quite frankly. He made the casual comment. He goes, well, how many times are you right? I said, well, actually, Wiz, I'm right 100% of the time. And he did his, his famous Wiz laugh. And I went, well, I'm 100% right every time because I know exactly where I'm wrong, right? So I find levels that have a high probability. It's all probability, folks, right? You never know what's going to work and what's not. But there's a high probability that there'll be an inflection point there. And then now, since you're in options, we can come up with the best options opportunity to use now that we've had an inflection point, whether that's a inflection point in a intraday chart on a 5-minute chart or an inflection point out on a whole big, huge monthly, right? Where there's huge ramifications of it working or not. So we'll talk about the things that we have here, right? Chart setup. A lot of people are not necessarily having their charts set up the way they should. What ratios should we use when we're using these type of what are called leading indicators? And then all the different technical analysis tools. I've taught them. I had to study them. I don't use a lot of them, but we can go into them. If you're using some tools, I can obviously help you maximize that. But again, it's the tactical implementation of using a chart to manage risk. I'm not here to teach, hey, this is what a chart is, and here's candlesticks. We can go over those if that's something you need. What I'm trying to tell you is here's the tactical implementation of why you'd like to use a candlestick, that type of stuff. We will go into Elliott wave theory. We're going into Elliott wave theory because it can give you an idea of it's basically a roadmap, right? But I'm not going to teach you to count 15 subwaves and all this different stuff. We're going to go over how to spot corrections, right? And how to interpret those corrections and come up with when there's a potential for this correction to end. Elliott wave theory can help you, right? We're going to teach you the rules of Elliott, right? Right now we're in a very crucial point. I would share my screen, but I think number one, Goose and I don't trust the GoToWebinar right now, but more importantly, there's a huge development occurring where if we break down another 1 or 2%, then we've nullified, we've negated that we could go higher, and quite frankly, we could be going down pretty tough. So Elliott wave theory gives you that roadmap to help. We're going to talk about extensions, retracements, right? How to really use those from a tactical perspective. ABCD, 3 drives, butterflies, 1, 3, 5, all those patterns we'll go into. And then if there's time and then there's interest, quite frankly, we could go into some advanced tactics and techniques, whether that's some GAN theory, whether that's square 9, whether that's advanced timing, anything. We can go into that, or I can just brush the surface to get you interested. So that's kind of our, starting next month. But when we start talking about coaching, we will tailor it, right? And so what I would ask is that if you're interested, let's just set up a call, right? Half an hour call. I call them discovery and immersion, right? So let's discover what you're looking at learning from charting, and then let's immerse ourselves and make that kind of a tailored coaching. So that's a free call, right? Because I don't want to just teach people. I want you to be successful, right? And so having this first call just to see what you want, I might just push you to a book, right? And you don't need me, or we might really want to get really deep and down and dirty on these type of tactics and techniques. So I don't know, and I do know there'll be multiple levels of expertise. So let's just jump on a call. Shoot me an email. We'll set up a 15, 20-minute call, and we'll figure out if this is right for you. So when we talk inflection points, you'll be surprised. We can find some really powerful inflection points. And using those inflection points on when to enter and when to exit, I think we can really maximize profitability, but more importantly, manage risk in this crazy market. There's a short Pfizer that I'm upside down on, folks. It looked great, but they got a great, right, clinical trials readout. And so now, I look at charting and investing and trading like golf. Man, it's great when you land in the fairway, isn't it? But I don't very often. So my golf game's all about getting out of the rough in the sand. That's kind of like trading, right? So a lot of times we find ourselves in the sand. All right, what are we going to do? Where can we find those different support and resistance areas to help us get back in the fairway, if you will? So I'm really excited. I'm a big surfer out here in San Diego. So if I say stoked, I'm sorry, but I'm really stoked to be doing this. And that's it. So Goose, anything I missed, or
right.
Hand it back over to you, brother?
Great.
All right.
So Bart mentioned to me this morning that he's going to reevaluate the commit criteria for this Pfizer trade, because guess what? He's been presented some new information. So they're looking at that today. In fact, we were talking about that just before we came on here. So that's the way that worked. We were looking at the XLF, same thing, looking at our commit criteria and so on and so on. So it happens at the teaching level, and it can happen for you. And so Bart, is what he's talking about with Inflection is to try to bring some of that into your training. So if you decide that you want to do personalized coaching, we can bring some of that in. And Bart can, he could take a session with you. I can take some with you, and we can figure out what's best for you. So it's all individualized. All right, let's get into the nuts and bolts of where we go from here. So our coaching level, we have the commanding officer level, and this is a very, very nice long 1-year program tailored to the individual. We talked about weekly flights and monthly debriefs on Zoom, recorded. You can have access to us on email and possibly even soon with Discord as well. And that is $15,000 a year for that. We have the Commodore Club level. It's a 6-month tailored plan. It works very much the same way. Monthly debrief, weekly flights, developing your plan, access to us, and we prefer to work outside of market hours, 6 months long, $79.95. So obviously it pays a little bit to be in the longer one, but they're very, very close in time value. And then finally, we have individual hourly coaching available if bought in a package. For instance, $500 an hour broken into 30-minute sessions. You buy a package of hours. $400 if 3 hours are purchased or more. $300 per hour if 4 or more purchased per hour. And again, in the same, we record with Zoom, and we can just basically have you with a link with that, and we'll work your plan with you. So those are our levels, and you need to understand, and you can go back and look at these slides again, and we can talk about it later, but in essence, that's where the pricing sets. And there are some limitations, of course. We're very individual, very time-limited people. You are too. So it does require a little bit of flexibility in timing and preparations, and a good attitude and a willingness to flex, because your life's going to change and my life's going to change. And maybe 1 week we want to take off during your vacation and we'll double up the following week or something like that, or we'll do an extra long plan so that you get the time with us that you need to try to work your plan, and so that you feel comfortable going forward. Right now, I have to tell you though, we're only going to take on a handful of clients right now. This is extremely limited. So when we get finished here, you're going to need to let us know if this is something that you're serious about doing. I can only handle a few at a time right now. And as we begin to develop this a little bit further, we'll look at some group sessions coming up depending on the demand. So what I would like to do right now though is I'd like to ask Wiz to come right in here and because he's got some things he would like to discuss.
Yeah, hey guys, good stuff for Bart and Goose. If you take a look over in the handout section, folks, go over to go look at the handouts. You have a couple handouts because you got some work to do. So let me go take a look at that stuff and bring this up. All right, change presenter. I'll grab it back. All right, so go look over to the handouts. You have a blank training plan, because the first brief that you're going to do with either Goose or Bart or both. Now remember, so reach out if you're interested in coaching with both or kind of splitting it up. Go to Goose first, because he can kind of honcho that and split it up and come up with a plan. Because you can mix and match, right? You can do, I don't know, 6 months with Goose, 6 months with Bart, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So there's our contact info out there, and you can reach out to them directly. But the first brief you're going to do with these gentlemen is to map out your strategic objective, period. This ain't, all right, let's meet next week and just kind of start talking. This is, where do you want to be in your time frame? If you only want to do a month, you can do the hourly coaching. You want to do 2 months, you do, they'll figure it out. But we obviously recommend you do a bigger chunk. First of all, because it keeps you pretty disciplined. When I did coaching, I had coaching clients for a couple of years here. It's pretty good to have somebody external cracking the whip. Like, hey man, we're meeting tomorrow at 1. Oh, well, we're meeting tomorrow at 1. Oh, okay, we are. So having somebody kind of hold your feet to the fire is critical to the success of this, but also executing to your trade plan, right? You're going to develop this with your own wing, with your instructor pilot, and you're going to fly it. Because you're going to come up with, this is what success in a year from now, 6 months from now, a month from now, whatever that time frame is, your coaching time frame, this is what is going to put a smile on my face. And then you're going to go through, what are the threats, what are the resources, what are your lessons learned to date, What's working, what ain't working, what do I need to start doing, what do I need to stop doing, and then come up with action items and then your contingency plan. So step one of all of this with one of these guys is your trade strategic plan, right? And then they're both going to help you develop trade plans for your into positions and stuff. My coaching clients, before they placed a trade, they sent me their 7-step trade plan. And then on some debriefs, I'm looking at some of these positions. I'm like, when'd you get into that? They're like, oh, I did that. And oh, you didn't, yeah. And look, it's doing pretty shitty, isn't it? So yeah, I wasn't disciplined about that. So this is, and coaching isn't for anybody, everybody, folks, obviously. We have a motto that says respectful truth over artificial harmony. These guys don't get paid to blow smoke up your ass. They get paid to make sure you perform, you get better, and then you can slap that patch on your shoulder and go back to the fleet and know what you're doing. So make sure you download the trade plan that is over there in the handouts. And then also I put another PDF in there that breaks out, the coaching that, programs that Goose just put in there. Okay, let me go take a round through some questions. We'll finish right on time. Rick, are these courses included to lifetime members? God, no. Rick, these are individual coaching services. These are not. This is open to everybody, and this is not a lifetime included thing. If anything, Rick, you actually are getting coaching for free from Goose and Bart. And I've actually told Goose and Bart to throttle back a little bit, man, because they're over nice with what they're doing. So Rick, you already get all this stuff in lifetime. So I wouldn't, I'd be pretty happy if I were in lifetime right now. So coaching is a great deal. Like we started this brief, man, you got Tiger Woods, you got everybody on the face of the planet who does any sort of high performance work has somebody helping them out, and you all should too, or don't. I mean, obviously the choice is yours. You can sit here and go, I don't mind flying around this incredibly treacherous market by myself. That might be the answer. The worst thing you could do is spend an hour, right? The best thing you could do is spend an hour with Goose and Bart. Have them take a look under the hood. One of the ways that I started with my buddy, who was the lead of my solo Amazon brief, is my doc here in Boca, Dr. Handel. There's two of them. They're brothers. The one does all the trading for both of them. But Doc Handel is the guy I met at Starbucks for our first coaching brief, and boom. After doing his trade plan, I'm like, all right, let me see what you got. And that's when he got the 33 position. So, and if you're in around where Goose lives, I ended up doing in-person coaching. So if you're in San Diego, hell, man, go bump into Bart on the beach to go do your coaching, and he'll teach you some surfing too. Goose is an American Airlines captain, man. Hey, Goose, I live here. You know what? I'm doing a layover there. Get together and do in-person coaching. We had a lot of TGO members who live in South Florida. I did a lot of in-person coaching. Another doctor down in Fort Lauderdale, we used to do live. I did a lot of in-person coaching down here in South Florida, and I loved it. We became, and still are, very good friends with most of my coaching clients. Paul, is there any package info today for TGO services, lifetime, etc., separate from this coaching? You know what, Paul? I'm going to tell you to email Goose, because he can map out life to TOPGUNoptions.com. So Paul, there you go, Goose. Paul's in the chat box there, asking about lifetime and stuff like that. So Goose is our director of business development. Paul, he can jump on a call with you and map out what we do here at TGO outside of coaching, and he can hook you up with all that stuff. All right, a couple more questions, and then we will be good to go. Charles, I answered your question as well. Rick, I want to understand how to use the tools to find inflections and buy and sell points, as well as time frames where these points are. Rick, I would email Bart at TopGunOptions.com, because it sounds like you and Bart would get along, because he can answer all of that stuff. Barry, you're just a member of Solo Amazon. Can I view the Accelerated Retirement video? You can't. Accelerated Retirement is part of Full Throttle. Solo Amazon is Solo Amazon. That's all you're paying for. So if you want to upgrade, you can email support at TopGunOptions.com. Another person wants to learn about Gamma. You want to learn about Gamma, you email Goose at Top Gun Options. This is why this is great. These two guys, like on the screen right now are serendipitous. One guy is brilliant at this, the other guy is brilliant at that, and then you can work with them to go Reese's Peanut Butter Cup to map out a joint coaching program. All right, folks, I'm done. I'm done for the week, except for a ton of stuff in between accelerated retirement and this brief. I was just on a call with two ladies who just incredible God moment, who are buried in the plant medicine and psychedelic space, who are going to introduce us to some folks in Silicon Valley who have money and are looking to dump it into psychedelic space investments. God moment. So I got to follow up with them because I had to jump to this brief. But I'm done for the week, but you're not done with Bart. Bart's got his Tomcat charts brief tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And if I'm not busy, I'm actually going to tune into that one because I need to get back up to speed with these guys. All right, so their contact information they gave out. I'll leave it up here as we head on out. But good brief, Goose and Bart. These guys are the best of the best, or they wouldn't be here. And you guys are also the best of the best, or you wouldn't be here, and you want to get better. So shoot Goose an email, goose@topgunoptions.com or bart@topgunoptions.com, and these guys will be able to help you tailor your coaching training package today. Okay? All right, folks, have a great rest of your day. Happy hunting. Make sure you hedge. God bless, and namaste. Fights on. We'll talk to you all later. We'll see you.
Thanks, everyone.